Good morning and welcome back to the Brother Main podcast. I do hope it's a wonderful, lovely morning for you. Wherever you are all across the globe, that you're waking up upbeat, energetic, ready to tackle everything that the day has to offer. And that ultimately there's joy in your heart and a smile on your face as you maybe tend to your daughter or son or those tasks and errands that you might have to run, but ultimately that you are well, in your mind, spirit, soul, body, and conscious. I want to thank those of you who are my returning listeners. Everything you do in terms of liking, following, sharing within your network is tantamount. It's very important to spreading Brother Main ideals and spreading the message of Christ and differing perspectives on, current events and things like that, everything that we do. So I do want to thank you. And for the new listener, I want to welcome you to the Brother Main podcast. What we do is we talk about esoteric concepts, some current events, some personal experiences, anecdotes, crack some jokes, have a good time. It's food for thought to carry you through your week every Monday and Friday morning, beginning at 7 a.m. So I also want to note, and I hinted at this in a previous podcast, but I want to reiterate, I've just taken up another endeavor. It's called 7732 Interviews. It can be found on the Brother Main 777 channel. And what it's going to do is cover interesting interviews of people from various walks of life, and in terms of like music or dreams or aspirations, it'll be another avenue or platform for them to promote themselves as well. So some pretty interesting stuff. Please check that out again. It's called 7732 Interviews on the Brother Main 777 YouTube channel. So I do want to preface this episode by saying it's not going to be any rigid notes. Its title is Giving and Philanthropy. Giving and Philanthropy. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And again, it's going to be no rigid notes, where it concerns giving in general. But we are going to have some later notes when we talk about philanthropy. We're going to pose a formal definition, and then cite some examples, that really stick out in the modern day philanthropic institutions and stuff like that. So pretty interesting stuff. Okay, so giving and philanthropy. We're all familiar with it. I don't think I'm unique in knowing about giving. We all know about giving and receiving. If it's birthday gifts, to your child, or anniversary gifts that you receive from a spouse. There's all sorts of giving. But particularly, we talk about people in need. Especially where it concerns the religious context. Even outside, where just concerns the idea of goodwill. Fraternal love. And I do want to, go through some anecdotes where I've been on both ends, the giving and receiving end of an interaction within time space, where goodwill is at the forefront. I spoke about in the Walk to Remember series, several good Samaritans who helped me along the way. And I remember now, the time I was in that hotel in Texas, passing through, and that gentleman, God bless him, another shout out to him again, helped me with that $150 in addition to that full backpack to bursting with all sorts of supplies and a camel pack and things like that, I also remember a time when I was passing through New Orleans and I just received some help from a good Samaritan, and I turned around immediately and helped two homeless people I saw sitting outside of a bar with the majority of the items and money that I received. So I feel like a lot of us in the world have spent ample time on both ends. Definitely parents are constantly giving to their children, and everyone who's, a parent or an adult has been a child at one point and received that love from, their mother or their father and things like that. And even in just a general societal regard, there's a lot of giving, right? And it's definitely an essential ideal both in and out of a religious context. Definitely more so in a religious context, but in both contexts, Can't stress that enough. It shouldn't take a religious person to feel regard and compassion and generosity for a fellow human being. So how can we make a difference in the world through giving, right? Well, if you've ever given, hey, pat yourself on the back, slap your own butt cheeks, do it if you want. But just know that you did make a difference when you gave. Even on a microcosm or a personal scale, you made that difference. So if there's only one more person today who recognizes you, wherever you are, whoever you are, for the good you've done in giving to others, it's Theta. Thank you so much. But on a greater scale, outside of the microcosm or personal scale, personal interaction, there's going to be a greater scale. That's the idea of philanthropy, right? So philanthropy, this definition is taken from the internet. I believe it's Google's dictionary, and it's the desire to promote the welfare of others, expressed especially by the generous donation of money to good causes. So again, that's the desire to promote the welfare of others, expressed especially by the generous donation of money to good causes. So in both of my former anecdotes that I just hinted at and highlighted again, it wasn't just money that I received, it was also food, right? And sometimes we fill needs based on what we see the need to be. It could be I've given the shoes off of my feet to someone in Tenderloin, San Francisco one time, because I saw him barefoot, and so I gave him the shoes off of my feet. Glory to God. But when it talks about philanthropy, because it's on a commercial, typically, worldwide scale for a lot of these organizations, and we're going to go through 9 of them today. Hopefully by the end of our, summaries of these organizations, if you've never been a giving person before, if you've never given, you can begin to see the idea of giving in general first, but philanthropy as well in a whole new light, with a whole new perspective. So let's start by going through here. We're going to start locally and begin with, my hood, Atlanta, okay? And then we're going to go through some of those, and then we're going to talk about America, on a wider scale, and then even wider, worldwide impactful organizations that do magnanimous work every day. Right? So, beginning in Atlanta, we'll start with the Atlanta Ronald McDonald House Charities, right? And what they do, all of these summaries are going to be derived from their website. So please, I do encourage you, after you listen to this podcast, if you want to get involved in things like that, please contact these organizations. Their websites are easily accessible, on that smartphone that we're all using, right? And take a look today. So the Atlanta Ronald McDonald House Charities, they care for families who are caring for their sick or injured children. They offer a comfortable place to call home that is in close proximity to their child's safety. With the Atlanta Ronald McDonald House Charities, I do have a personal anecdote with that as well. Circa 2017, 2018, I remember wanting to volunteer and having this just random volunteering spirit, that flooded over me, glory to God. And I went down to, I researched first the Atlanta Ronald McDonald House Charities, and then I, scheduled a volunteer visit where I could come and do something. Now, when I got there, I remember them telling me what the task was going to be. It's just I was going to dedicate an amount of time. I believe that's how it works, for kids in high school out there as well. If you are looking for, volunteer hours, I believe it's, the number of hour requirements, if I'm not mistaken. And I'd encourage you guys as well, take a moment to encourage you guys as well to continue those initiatives even after high school and things like that. It's never too much, okay? But with them, I do believe the Ronald McDonald House Charities, I do remember it being just, I think, a few hours that I was dedicating on I believe a Saturday morning. So when I arrived, the cute lady, I don't remember her name, but she was very beautiful. I do remember that. And she explained to me that I was going to be baking cookies for the kids, right? Baking batches of cookies. And I was like, okay, cool. All right, cool. That sounds like a cool thing to do. Not too difficult. So she showed me all the cookie batter, the dough and everything like that, and the ovens and everything like that. And I was responsible, for, cleaning up beforehand, sending everything out, baking the cookies, and then cleaning up afterwards. And then, I scheduled, I believe, a follow-up to come do some more work. So, but very amicable people, not just her. Shout out to them, in particular, for all that they do. It's great work. The next one is going to be the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. And what they do is they provide resources for specialized pediatric and adolescent care. So typically, kids and teens with, specific illnesses, and things like that. So cool. The next one's going to be Living Tree Charities. All right, and they were founded to cultivate community organizations and service-minded people. They encourage and promote volunteers to better impact community organizations. So it looks like they facilitate, volunteer initiatives, and they help connect volunteers to specific organizations that, tackle specific tasks, things like that. Amazing work. All right, we're going to move next to America, the wider scale, and we're going to look at 3 here as well. Very interesting stuff. The first one is going to be the Obama Foundation, his My Brother's Keeper Alliance. So that would be former President Barack Obama. God bless him. This My Brother's Keeper Alliance was launched in February 2014 to address persistent opportunity gaps facing boys and young men of color, to ensure all youth can reach their full potential and pursue their dreams without socioeconomic hindrances. So very good work, that's great. That's, pursuing dreams, can't be stressed enough how pivotal that is. The next one we're going to talk about is UNICEF USA. So if you're familiar with UNICEF out there, this would be particularly their USA America division. And what they do is they work nonstop to help end preventable maternal, newborn, and child deaths by scaling up essential care services, increasing immunization coverage, and strengthening health systems to better respond to outbreaks. So that's working, close with children. That's very pivotal stuff, And then we talk about the Ronald McDonald House Charities and the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, the UNICEF USA. All of us were parents. I'm not, but all of out there who might be listening and resonating, your kids are the most important things in your life. So these organizations definitely do impactful work, not just with the children, but that ultimately impact their parents' lives as well. The next one is going to be Catholic Charities USA. And what they do is they provide service to people in need, to advocate for justice in social structures, and to call the entire church and other people of goodwill to do the same. So that's going to be more of a faith-based one, but with that sentiment of goodwill, it's going to extend to people, of course, outside of the religion, and things like that. So good stuff. And as we move towards the close of this episode, I do want to say I hope you've enjoyed it thus far, and maybe you've gotten some information as well, maybe something spurring inside of you to do some research and and give in general. But we're going to then be talking now about, on a worldwide scale, international scale, 3 more initiatives that I believe have, greatly impacted and still greatly impact our world. The first one's going to be water. Just water, amazing, right? And what they do is they change lives around the world by providing safe water and sanitation to those in need, right? It's 3 initiatives, right? The first one is they partner directly with institutions that serve people living in poverty, okay? The second one is that they expand partnerships to accelerate access. And the third is that they strengthen the environment for water and sanitation solutions at a system level. So it looks like they start by, gaining rapport with these institutions that specialize in dealing with socioeconomic hardship. Then they expand those particular partnerships to accelerate access to the resources. And they finish by strengthening the environment on an industrial scale, getting hands-on with the material at the systems level. So amazing stuff. Water is definitely necessary. It's one of the 5 basic means of survival, and we will talk about that in a later episode when we talk about the 5 basic means of survival. But it's amazing stuff that the Water Organization does. The next one is going to be Compassion International. And what they do is they provide strategic relief and meet critical needs for children in the most urgent situations like homelessness, medical emergencies, and natural disasters. So again, more work for, children, but they really hone in on the natural disaster too, which is pivotal. We haven't, talked about that yet. I do foresee a future episode where we talk about natural disasters, but it's a part of my personal story as well. As a child, my family went through a hurricane that completely destroyed our home and uprooted our lives, but glory to God, we were still able to, survive as best we can and make a comeback. It's tragic when you think of things like Hurricane Katrina and volcanoes and the fires going on in California that are burning down people's homes. All of those are natural disasters, and sometimes the hardest part about those natural disasters is the powerlessness, the futility that we feel because it's nature, wreaking havoc. So it's good to know that there are people like Compassion International that get, involved on the ground floor and spread the idea of goodwill to people in the homelessness and facing medical emergencies and natural disaster. The final one we're going to talk about today is global giving. Right? So global giving is kind of uncanny. They kind of expand the ideal even further, which is an amazing thing. They are themselves a nonprofit organization that hosts and promotes fundraisers of other nonprofit organizations, but particularly concerning disaster relief, they connect donors to vetted organizations that immediately respond to needs in impacted communities. So again, honing in on that natural disaster and taking it a step further to connect organizations, right, to donors who can make that financial contribution and change our world. That's what it's all about, So I'll give a final word. It is both good and perfect to give. Give with a spirit of joy and compassion as many times as the conscience wills. But especially when you experience someone in need and have the humility, power, and resources to do so. It cannot go understated how impactful, how appreciated, how magnanimous it can be to make that specific or general change, emphasis on change, in someone's life. I want to thank you so much for listening, and blessings from the Brother Man.